we have this theme where we think about ecosystems and how can we use our platform to identify different inefficiencies in the humanitarian response ecosystem and cycle, and how do we address those? For example, fundraising using catastrophe bonds, distributing cash directly to communities digitally, our community inclusion project. Another way of thinking about it is how can we use crypto to actually support organizations and be able to support interventions? So basically, let's start first with a definition of crypto philanthropy. And essentially what it is, a definition if you will, is this act of leveraging blockchain technology to help facilitate charitable contributions. It's pretty simple. So instead of using cash, we're using crypto. And in this case, we're thinking about blockchain. We're thinking about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple. There's so many of these tokens out there today. And when we think about the benefits of crypto philanthropy, there are things around transparency and decentralization, minimizing expenses or friction, fee friction, as they call it in the blockchain world, reducing your tax shield, or increasing your tax shield, reducing your taxes, meaning donating crypto into charitable organizations and trusts, and then just digital agreements. And some of you may be familiar with the NFTs. So just to want to give you a quick scan in terms of like how big is this crypto space, and you've probably heard a lot about Bitcoin over the weeks and months, and you've probably heard a lot about NFTs. But today, Bitcoin itself is about a $1.1 trillion market. Ethereum, which is sort of the second token down, is around 300 million right now, and from there it goes from about 50 to 60 million. So it's actually pretty robust and it's growing. In fact, a couple days ago, Bloomberg ran an article that said how crypto billionaires will transform philanthropy. And essentially what they're saying is that if the price of Bitcoin hit, say, $200,000, half of the world's billionaires would actually be crypto billionaires. And if you take a moment to think, like, that's pretty incredible. For just a few years back, there really wasn't this sort of additional source of funding. There are a lot of organizations that are getting into this space. It's not just something that's brand new. For example, Fidelity, which is a large group in the United States, they've raised about 200 million or so since 2017. There's another group called Pineapple Fund, which has another $55 million that they've raised. If we look at Mercy Corps, Mercy Corps has received $10 million right now from a group called Ripple. UNICEF has started their own foundation where they can hold crypto, and this is now where they're able to distribute cash through the UNICEF organization in the form of Ethereum or Bitcoin. Even the Danish Red Cross has its own structure that we're working with now, a group called Open Libra, or OL, where we're actually mining tokens, which is a project together with the University of Toronto. It's with new labs in the United States, Radical Exchange, and other organizations. And what we've done is we've set up a humanitarian innovation fund, which is backed by these tokens. And once these tokens start to trade in the market, and they haven't yet, we'll be able to then distribute these tokens to organizations and to operations to support them. What we've done is we've set up this foundation, and we'll take about 7 or 8% of the money from the fund and support our administrative costs. But it's a way for us to come up with some kind of recurring income. It's a way for us to look at different pools of financing. But those are just a few examples of what are out there today. So in order to kind of like get into that mindset of crypto philanthropy, you really need to think how holders of Bitcoin are looking at the world today. So Bitcoin, crypto is very decentralized, right? In some ways, it's kind of the antithesis of what the Red Cross and institutions like ours think, where we are these monolithic or traditional organizations. People who are holding crypto tend to look at NGOs, civil societies, groups that tend to be a bit more nimble. But what I would say is that Red Cross is probably one of the most, is probably one of the best, is one of the one of the most valuable components, or one of the most interesting parties for these philanthropists, because we are a community-based organization, right? We have 14 million volunteers around the world. We are community-focused. We're in 192 national societies. We're probably the world's largest humanitarian organization, and we have the largest footprint from a grassroots perspective. So for us, within the Red Cross, it's important that, one, we acknowledge that this idea of crypto philanthropy is there, that there are billions of dollars that are out there looking for homes, and that we can actually start organizing ourselves around this idea of being more innovative and creative, thinking about how to lower costs, how to lower friction for distributing cash, and also more innovative ideas. And so what we're also looking at is not just like how to accept the cryptocurrency, how to make ourselves willing to be able to draw down these funds, but also to put in the infrastructure that's required for this. And so for the last 5 months, the innovative financing team, the partnership, compliance, the finance department, the digital team have been working really hard to figure out how can we put this infrastructure in place? What is necessary? So we've been working with different Bitcoin exchanges or crypto exchanges. These are like stock markets, if you will, where you go, you sign up, and then you deposit funds, and you go on an exchange and you buy the crypto that you desire, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Cardano, whatever it might be. But for that to happen, you need to have a corresponding bank. Now, one of the issues that we have faced at the Danish Red Cross, and why crypto is a really interesting solution, is that we work with Danske Bank. This is all public knowledge. Danske Bank has run into some issues with money laundering. And now they're kind of a bit more difficult of an organization for us to work with from a counterparty perspective. When we go into conflict areas, some of those organizations tend to say, we're not comfortable working with Danske Bank. Well, that puts us at a huge disadvantage, because a lot of our contracts and grants, and this is the same across the movement, we have a specific counterparty or a bank that we work with. And in order to change that relationship, we have to go through the grant process again and rewrite some of those contracts. So this becomes a procurement issue. Not only is it a finance issue or a transparency issue, it becomes a procurement issue. And I know Teresa's on here, and she's done a lot of work at Innovation Norway around like innovative procurement, and I'm sure she could have a whole session on that. But in any case, so we face this problem working with our counterparty bank, and then that has prevented us in a lot of cases from working with some of the best, largest exchanges in the market today. So after 4 months, we eventually came up with a solution. Actually, 5 months, we came up with a solution, which was for us to work directly with a bank, start to drip cash into that, work directly with an exchange in Denmark, start to drip our cash into that bank, and then once we've bought the crypto, right, we've set up the wallet. We've set up the wallet to be able to hold these digital currencies. We then take that from the exchange and we move them into a different type of wallet, which is something called a multi-sig. The point being is that we're essentially moving the crypto from the exchange into our wallet. And this wallet is basically now would sit with the Danish Red Cross. And this wallet is called non-custodial. So just to walk it back a second. Step one, open up a bank account with an exchange. Okay. Step two, deposit your money. Step three, buy crypto. Step four, bring the crypto into your digital wallet. Step five, withdraw it to a second wallet that sits more uncustodial in an uncustodial manner. So once it's out there, then you have control as to how you're using it. And so what we were looking at is, one, how to solve the problem with Danske Bank, and two, then how can we transfer money into areas that are somewhat conflicted or in a disaster setting where traditional financial markets and infrastructure have collapsed, but maybe mobile banking is still there, or maybe there are still channels for funds to be able to be brought into countries in a legal and regulatory fashion. And so what we have found have been some partners of ours who are entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs. They've actually refugees themselves who have set up systems and technology companies that might be based here, might be based in Europe, where we can then work with them in a very transparent and regulatory environment that we would be able to issue them a Bitcoin. They would then be able to take that Bitcoin, hold on to it, and then funds would transfer directly to the country in that country's currency, obeying all laws and regulations. And then once that money has been released to the country, they would then take that Bitcoin and they would deposit that in their own bank. So what we've essentially done is created an escrow account using Bitcoin as collateral, which is really interesting. And so this is something that we're piloting right now. It allows us to kind of solve our problem, which was this traditional banking system. Now, what's really interesting about this, right, is that now we can go to other philanthropic, or we can go to entrepreneurs, or we can go to these philanthropic, crypto philanthropic holders and say, look, we've come up with some really cool ideas around this Bitcoin. We actually have the infrastructure, i.e. a wallet. We have experience doing this. We're a really good organization to work with because we know what you're looking for and we know how to use these systems and these tools. So I'm going to leave it there to see if there are any questions, and I can back it up a little bit and talk more detail. But essentially, you know, that's the idea behind crypto philanthropy. So yeah, if you have a question, raise your hand or just jump in. So maybe I'll ask Teresa if she has some experience with this, or how would they look as a potential donor about crypto, and maybe some of the experiences that you might have had so far, if you're willing to talk.
I am. And we don't have any experience with this yet. I think it's a very interesting area to explore, so which is why I'm here today. We just launched our new call for proposals, so excited to see if we might get proposals this year that will target this area and give us an opportunity to learn more about how we can get this to work well.
Great, thank you. Hi Tey, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. I saw your message on LinkedIn, so I thought, hey, this is interesting. Let me drop in and see what you guys are, trying to pull up here.
So I'd like to introduce you to Tey. He's one of our partners, and I think the interesting bit is his story, a little bit about how he's used Bitcoin as a refugee himself, and maybe Tey, you can talk a little bit about your story in terms of how crypto has kind of really enabled you to do things, and maybe how it's helped you where you are today. Just give a little background on your story.
Yeah, definitely. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm speaking from The Hague in the Netherlands. My name is Tey, and for a period of 2 years, I lived as a refugee in the camps of the Netherlands. So originally, I'm Syrian. And as we know, when you don't have a ID, or you're not identified, you cannot get access to financial services. We're talking credit card, PayPal, banks, you name it. So due to my past exposure to crypto and Bitcoin specifically, early 2012, I managed to get this knowledge and a bit of Bitcoin that I had to the refugee camp. All what I needed was my smartphone and internet connection and a Bitcoin wallet. I was able to order pizza to the camp. Now, why pizza? Because pizza was the first physical product sold for Bitcoin back in 2011. So we always remind each other of the most expensive pizza that was bought and paid for 10,000 Bitcoins. It was done overseas as well. So a person in the UK have shipped a pizza to someone in the US, and that guy in the US has paid to the UK guy 10,000 Bitcoins for this pizza. So this story is celebrated, I think, May 5 every year, the Bitcoin Pizza Day. So I was remembering, hey, I can do that as well. So I looked on the internet, where can I order food with Bitcoin? And it turned out in the Netherlands, there is a website where you can pay with Bitcoin and you can order any type of food that you want. So I ordered the pizza. Now this was special for us because we had cash. Like some of the refugees who came to the Netherlands, they had a little bit of cash on them, but we're not able to transact, we're not able to leave the camp. And if you order something online, nobody's gonna deliver it for you before you pay for it. So this was a breakthrough for us, for many of us. For me, it was personally a way to change the food I was eating. But for others, they saw another possibilities. They wanted to send money back home. They wanted to earn money. So we started making groups where we translate Arabic to English. We get paid in Bitcoin. We do some graphic design work. We get paid in Bitcoin. Years went by, and today we have in Lebanon a situation where banking systems have failed. NGOs are not able to send and receive money inside Lebanon. They're not able to pay their staff. They're not able to fund their operations. And I'm talking about as Dutch non-profit organizations. So this where Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies come to play, not from a speculation volatility perspective, but as a way of payment to send and receive money near instantly at near zero fees. The network is there, it is good, it is solid, we can do that. But what is missing today is the on-ramps and the off-ramps. The on-ramps in Europe are available. So there is in every country around the world a local cryptocurrency platform which you can give your local currency to, and they give you back crypto. You can ship this crypto anywhere around the world. In Lebanon, what I have done is a way to take that crypto and give cash to people. So when the Beirut explosion happened last summer, we saw this problem where a lot of donations wanted to come into the country, but the banks, they can't take it because there is no banking infrastructure since a year now in Lebanon. So crypto came to help a lot of NGOs, in fact, and this was the next step for me to establish Flus.app. If you look at the website, there's nothing yet. Everything is still under construction. But what we do is we have people on the ground wearing a Flus t-shirt. They will come to your house, they will give you cash, and the crypto is basically donated or sent from people abroad. It is, I think, it is time for NGOs to think about the innovation behind cryptocurrencies and leverage this technology to really bridge the gap, the financial gap, and give a way for people to make their own money and to decide on which type of money they want to use.
Okay. Thanks, Tey. I really appreciate it. And if you're interested more about Tey, he has a couple of YouTube videos, some from TEDx, which are really interesting. And I think you even have a book that you just published as well about your experience.
True. I published a book called The Invisible Son, where I documented the journey from being born in Kuwait, raised in Lebanon, working in Dubai, and now a refugee in the Netherlands. How communication has changed during that time, and how internet influence the way we communicate. I mean, look now, we are meeting all together in a setup due to internet and due to how the infrastructure of communication allowed us to do this. We are coming in a similar mode when it comes to money, to use cryptocurrencies. The beautiful thing about crypto is it's like a doll in your hand. You can shape it in any way you want. It is open source, it is free to use, and there's no one that can stop you from doing this. Non-profits, your blood that runs in your body is basically the money. So now you have a very powerful tool in your hand where you can basically break borders, break barriers, and break every single no that was said before. Now we can do this.
Okay, great, thanks. I mean, to put it back into a humanitarian context, and I really appreciate that perspective. This is coming from someone who's a refugee, who's lived out of his country for how many years, Tey?
Yeah, I've been out Lebanon now since 9 years, Adam. And to be honest, I've been saying this since 6 years. Do not wait to take permission. I know you have a legal responsibility and you have due diligence and you have to respond to your donors. But your donors, I mean, this is my personal opinion. They're not in your shoes. They're not on the ground. They're not there in Beirut to see how a kilogram of meat has exponentially went up in price. You know, I'm into crypto and I help my parents as much as I can. But sometimes my parents can't find meat to cook. They buy bones and we cook the vegetables with bones so that we can taste the meat a little bit. It is a very, very difficult situation. And being on the ground there is different than sitting in Geneva and preaching, yeah, we want to help, we want to do something. If this, you know, if we don't change the way we're working and the way we're transacting and the way if we don't be on the forefront, it will bite back at us. And with this technology being open for everyone, we are not waiting anymore for a bank to come and open. We're not waiting anymore for the United Nations to give a little bit of tents and a little bit of donations for Syrian refugees in Bekaa Valley to help. No, we now organize groups. We do a fundraise in crypto. We send it there. We use even stable currencies, currencies that do not fluctuate in price. So we are now far advancing in this space. And I stress on the fact, open your minds, open your hearts, and think, how can we, you know, push our donors and push the regulators in giving special exceptions for large organizations like yours to adopt and adapt these innovations.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, we have to remember that we're there to service people like you, and I think that's super important. And your perspective is very, very critical. And you know, I thank you for all your work. There's a question from Tanya. Tanya, you want to ask your question? I think this is relevant to what we're discussing.
Sure. I was just asking, you know, when reading that article about these kind of crypto philanthropists, it seems to me that, and just kind of myself knowing that world and like generally this kind of younger techie kind of persona, we often don't cater to that audience in really simple ways about like being able to demonstrate impact. And I feel like the needs of a crypto philanthropist might be that, you know, times 100. How are we going to be able to kind of demonstrate our impact in terms of our operations? And are you thinking about that and like kind of collaborating with operational teams to be able to cater that at the Danish Red Cross, or does anyone have experience with that?
Yeah, sure. So that's basically kind of like what we've been doing. Tey is one of our partners in terms of how we're working with individuals on the ground. We have set up our own wallets. We're in the process of doing that. We have a large project in Kenya called Community Inclusion Currencies, where we actually use cash transfer and convert that into crypto. And this is a project that Teresa, who just talked momentarily or a little while ago, has helped fund for our group. We now have like 200,000 plus users in Kenya trading cryptocurrencies based on cash transfer and there's about 70 different villages. So this is something that we're definitely doing. It's and not just the Danish Red Cross, right? But it's also looking at other organizations like Mercy Corps and UNICEF, who are actually getting into this space in a bigger way than we are. So I think listening to what Tey has to say in terms of like what the need on the ground is, looking at where technology is taking us, thinking about transparency and governance, and then who are the new philanthropic donors, right? Who are they? What are their characteristics? What are they looking for? These are all things that we need to consider and be aware of. Tey, do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I think by telling this story, you know, by telling this story of how did this small crypto donation change the lives of people or families, or even the lives of the NGO workers who are on the ground. I know for a fact that, you know, NGO workers, they are under stress when they are in those areas where there's conflict and they're handling cash and they have large amounts of cash with them and they're wearing bulletproof vests. I mean, your work as a non-profit organization, aid worker, is not to put a bulletproof vest and a bulletproof helmet and be around guns. I think it is more to ease in that tension. And I know this because I've been a volunteer myself in Lebanon. I've been to Iraq, and I worked with the WFP on a project in Iraq. So it puts a lot of pressure. Now, when we are sharing how crypto can really influence the world and can change the world, I think the stories will entice the appetite and the imagination of other donors to come and join. And they don't need to be per se crypto philanthropic donors. They just need to be donors that believe in the power of two things: using technology by organizations like yours who have the experience in delivering the best method of aid, leveraging the tech we're talking about.
Right. And so thanks. Cedric has a question in here. He's asking about second layer solutions like Lightning networks and such. And I'll say from the Danish Red Cross side, we're actually in the process of developing our own networks, our own digital ledgers. We're working with Bloxburg. We also have Ethereum-based solutions, and also, I mentioned something called Open Libra before, which is on Tendermint, part of Cosmos. So there's a lot of different things that are going on right now. From the perspective of like a humanitarian organization needing its own distributed ledger, we have a report that came out recently that we did with Mercy Corps and Sophie from Hive Online, where we said that the humanitarian sector actually needs its own blockchain, one which is focused on do no harm, one that looks at transparency and digital rights and sovereignty and things of that nature. I'll put the link for that article in the bottom there, but we've really thought a lot about this, and we have that research, and there's actually a working group around this humanitarian DLT concept, where if some of you are interested in joining, you're more than welcome. Tey, what's your thoughts on Lightning Network, and maybe just describe exactly what it is? And then
Lightning Network, and this is, Adam, when we said like we are now way forward in the crypto space than we were 5 years ago. The amount of advancement and the amount of improvements in the crypto networks is humongous, and is really it really blows my mind. Lightning Network is one of them. It's like a piece of Lego that you put on top of the Bitcoin network, just to keep it as simple as possible. And it allows transactions to go at real time and at zero fees. So it is similar to your credit card tap in the bar. You go to a bar and you're gonna invite your friends, and you would say, you know what, bartender, here's my credit card, open a tab for me. So everyone's gonna drink, everyone's gonna eat, and at the end of the day, the bartender is gonna swipe this credit card and do the payment. In a similar sense, this scenario was built on top of the Bitcoin network, because we know in Bitcoin transactions are expensive and they are a bit slow compared to Visa, Master, and other financial giants. So instead of changing the Bitcoin infrastructure, there was another layer added to it. And this layer is called the Lightning Network. It is still in development. It is still early stages, but it holds huge promises to use the oldest network, the biggest network, and the most secure financial network today, which is the Bitcoin network. So similar now today how NGOs have communication departments. In my opinion, every NGO today needs to have a crypto department. This crypto department, its job is similar to what Adam said, to look and research and innovate and keep up to date on all these developments and see where can we fit it to serve the best purpose.
Great. Yeah, I mean, just as a shout out for the Danish Red Cross, our digital department, this strategy about crypto philanthropy, the community inclusion project, our volcano catastrophe bond, which sits on blockchain, that's all kind of a component of our 2021, 2023 like digital roadmap that we're kind of developing and thinking about value chains. Like we have time for just one last question. It's from Joy. Joy, you want to jump in here and ask your question?
Yes. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. I'm Joy from the Nigerian Red Cross.
Nigerian Red Cross, right?
Yes, I have a different conception concerning cryptocurrency. So I want to know, is crypto legalized in all the country? That's my question. Thank you.
Sure. Let me grab that real quick and then Tey, jump in if you like. Crypto's not approved. Well, Bitcoin is not approved in every country. And so from the Red Cross perspective, we have to be very careful as to how we use Bitcoin and how it surfaces in those countries where there are some restrictions. And I think that from our perspective, we've done legal due diligence on this in various manners. And what we do at this point when it comes to Bitcoin is not to actually transfer the Bitcoin into the country so much as we use that as a piece of collateral or in an escrow account that allows us then to work with registered, transparent legal networks to be able to get cash into the hands of our staff and funding the programs. So that's kind of like this process of maturity where we're learning about the process, we're learning about the systems. Whereas, say in Kenya, we use cash and we use something which is like more of a digital voucher. It's like a medium of exchange where it doesn't have an impact on the monetary policy or the monetary value of the local currency. So that's kind of where the Red Cross is at this point. We're behind other organizations, but we're learning. Tey, maybe you want to talk a little bit about Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Nigeria specifically, yes, Bitcoin is, according to the latest communication from the central bank, is banned. But did the people stop using it? No. What happened is the prices of cryptocurrencies in Nigeria has went up simply because this tool, this commodity, this asset, this type of money is much needed in Nigeria and people want to use it, regardless of what the bank and the government is saying. And it lifted, as anything that you ban, there is more, if there is demand on it, it will rise up in price. I would like to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, about the times of prohibition in the US when whiskey was banned. Today, whiskey is a brand in every refrigerator, in every house. So things will change. China had a huge opposing vision on cryptocurrencies, and now they're saying, well, it's an investment vehicle, but not a way of payment. Turkey, 2 weeks ago, have banned cryptocurrencies as a way of payment. Lebanon has a neutral stand on it. They just give a warning to people not to engage in cryptocurrencies because they can lose all their money. But they forgot to mention to the people that, if you put your money in the bank can take all your money. So it is like a 5-year-old who puts his hand on a hot stove. You can tell him 100 times, don't do this. But until he burns his hand, he will realize for the rest of his life that the stove is hot, I will not put my hand on it anymore. This is the situation in Lebanon today. If you talk to anyone in Lebanon, a taxi driver, a minister, even to my dad, who thought, tell him, what do you think of the bank? He would tell you, I'd rather trust Tey with a few cryptocurrencies than I trust any of the 75 banks that operate in a country where 4 million people live. So again, I do understand your position as a legal entity, your responsibility towards your donors, towards your governments, towards the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and to your personal safety as well. But please do not let this slip away from you, and together we can fight for our rights and for the rights of the people that we serve.
Right. Well, Tey, we really appreciate your perspective. You're living it, and we're there to serve you and people that are like in destitute and fragile states. Again, the Red Cross is a non-profit, is an international organization, and we have to live by principles. But we do have to hear and listen to people who are on the ground. And so
you are the only organization, Adam, that I have respect for, to be honest. Simply because you did a great job in Lebanon, the Lebanese Red Cross, since I was 5 years old, has done a tremendous job in Lebanon. And it is the only nonprofit that I have respect for, you guys. I have a big mouth against the UN. I have a big mouth against every single organization that is claiming to help, but actually they're doing nothing. When you go to Lebanon, to Bekaa Valley, and you see the UNHCR logos on all these plastic tents, how Syrian refugees are living in the mud. They take a piss in the bathrooms among rats that are the size of a cat. And nothing has changed since the massacre of Cana in 1990, where my friends died in those massacres. Nothing has changed.
Yeah, okay. That's an important point to remember. So thank you very much. With this, I'm going to call it a close. We're a little bit over time, but I do appreciate everybody's questions. And if you have any specific information that you're looking for, please feel free to email me directly. And you can also look for Tey online, and I can give you his information if you contact me. I'll put my my information in the box. Again, this is a journey. We're learning. We'll probably make a few hiccups. We'll encounter a few hiccups along the way, but you know, this is the future in a lot of ways, and we need to at least be prepared for it. So thank you very much for your time. Have a great day.